Hi everyone, this is Jewish Talk coming to you from Nassau Community College on 90.3 WHBC, also streaming on the iHeart and the iTunes app. This program is later archived on Spreaker.com. So hi there, my name is Rabbi Perl. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This all depends on when you are listening and joining us. Well, today, Sunday, is the day right after a long week, a whole 8 days of the holiday of Passover. So please allow me to share some thoughts, some afterthoughts, perhaps some inspiration that we can take from this high holiday. I call it high, but it's really, really very high, the important holiday of Passover, also known as Pesach. So I first want to tell you a little bit about February the 1st versus Passover. What am I talking about? How many of you know that February the 1st marks one of the most important anniversaries in American history? Most of us don't. I didn't until recently. You see, February the 1st is National Freedom Day, the day that the President, Abraham Lincoln, signed the joint House and Senate resolution outlawing slavery. The resolution became the 13th Amendment to the Constitution in 1865. Arguably, February the 1st is more significant than the 4th of July. On July 4th, we throw off the yoke of the foreign power and attained independence, but millions of Americans still remained enslaved. It was only when slavery was abolished that America began to live up to its declaration that all men are created equal, when we genuinely began to proclaim liberty throughout the land to all inhabitants. So why is such a pivotal date in the history of America not more widely known? And here's the Passover question. Why is the emancipation of Hebrew slaves, which happened 3,300 years ago, widely known? This everybody knows. The answer is simple, but supremely important. National memory dies without national ritual. Let me repeat that. National memory dies without natural ritual. For 3,300 years, Jewish people have celebrated the Passover Seder. During that Seder ritual, we tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. We eat matzah and bitter herbs to remind us of what it felt like to be oppressed. And we drink wine and sing songs to celebrate the fact that we're here to tell the tale. Because Passover is not a date or a concept, but a set of deeds, mitzvahs, it has never lost its power to inspire the imagination of successive generations. It is inscribed in the grooves of our habits and our memories. It reminds us that the battle for freedom, human dignity, equality, tzedakah, and righteousness is never over and must be fought in every age. National Freedom Day has no such ritual, sadly, so its memory fades away. Rituals are the way that a people preserve their memory, keeping faith with those who came before and passing on their legacy to the future. Those practices and ideals they represent, such as honesty, generosity, compassion, love, justice, Torah, mitzvahs, are the most important things that parents can give to their children. The reason that we have been able to keep this national identity alive for millennia is because of the ritual, the mitzvah. That is the technology that has allowed us to survive. Therefore, the message of Passover, as we come out of it, remains as powerful as ever. As long as we teach our children how to perform the rituals involved, we will never ever lose the identity and the message of what Passover means to the entire world. Something to think about. Now, there's another aspect of the holiday of Passover that we come away with, and I know everybody knows the song. Let me try it, see if I still have the voice to be able to sing that famous song that everybody knows. Ilu hotzi anu mimitzrayim, hotzi anu mimitzrayim, dayenu. Hey, dayenu, dayenu, dayenu. Now you know, dear friends, why I was not chosen as the cantor for my synagogue. But that song speaks about the gratitude, dayenu, and this would survive, appreciating. Let's call it the gratitude challenge. The song Dayenu reminds us to express gratitude, not just to God, but to everybody, to all people. Expressing gratitude, of course, pleases the recipient of the praise, but psychologists have discovered it also elevates the spirits of the grateful person. I'm not talking about the Grateful Dead. That's another program. We're talking about the grateful person. Martin Seligman, the godfather of positive psychology, has an exercise that makes people happier. He calls it the gratitude visit. Here is his instructions. Ladies and gentlemen, close your eyes. Call up the face of someone still alive who years ago did something or said something that changed your life for the better. Someone who you never properly thanked. Someone you could meet face to face next week. So, have you got that face in your mind? After identifying this person, this Dr. Seligman suggests that you write a letter that expresses your gratitude and then deliver it to the person. Your letter should be concrete and include specific actions or statements about how the person positively influenced your life. As an example, consider this letter that University of Montana student Paul Glassman wrote to his mother and subsequently read aloud to her. Mom, from when I was born to you to now, you have been impacting my life every day. When I was in high school, you came to every single sporting event that you possibly could, even if that meant you had to leave work early to catch the bus to get here. You were there even if it was pouring rain. You pushed me to do well in school because you wanted me to go to college. I know that if it was not for you, I would not have continued my education. Through the toughest of times and through the best of times, you have been there to support me. You are such an amazing human being and even better mother. Thank you for all the time and the effort and the hard work that you have taken into making me the man that I am today. I love you with all of my heart. It's clear why, when Glassman visited his mother and read this letter, it would pique an experience. It would be like an amazing experience for her. It let her know that her son sees her. She has pride in his accomplishments and provided a deep emotional message that moved her. But the visit was also a defining moment for him, for Glassman. In fact, he cited it as the third most memorable experience of his college days, behind only the graduation and attending the football national championship game. Seligman and the team of scientists have found that if you conduct a gratitude visit, you feel a rush of happiness afterwards. In fact, it's one of the most pronounced spikes that have been found in any positive psychology intervention. This is what Glassman experienced. Better yet, researchers say this feeling lasts. It's durable. Even a month later, people who conducted a gratitude visit were still happier than their peers in a control group. This is a stunning finding, my friends. There are many pleasures in the world that spike your happiness levels for a few hours, like a good matzo ball soup, to name one, but not many that last a month. The song Dayenu, what is it? It's really a gratitude list. It reminds us that every day is an opportunity to express our gratitude to God and to all the people for the blessings around us that we have received. If you knew that you could make a positive difference in someone's life, that you could create a memory for them that would last for years, and it would take only a trivial amount of time on your part, would you do it? I say, coming out of Passover, let's try it. Now, if you watch the news, I'm sure you've seen people who live in areas that get hit often by hurricanes and tornadoes. They collect what's left of their lives and begin to rebuild. Then it all happens again and again. And you probably ask yourself, Gewalt geschrigen, why don't they move? The reason is because it's their home. It's what they've already known. The world in which they make sense to them. They don't want to leave that what's familiar, even when disaster looms over it. Something similar happened to the Jewish people after the Exodus and celebrated during the holiday of Passover. Think about it. The Jewish people of that time, the Israelites, had been enslaved for generations. The memory of their freedom was impossibly distant. All they knew was hardship, mistreatment, and being crushed under the boot of despotism. After 200 years, God delivers them from Pharaoh and brought them out of Egypt. You would think they would be happy, but every time they faced a hardship, they complained. Oi, it's hot, we're tired, we had better food in Egypt. Oi, Moses, the water's not distilled out here, let's go back to Egypt. Why would they want to go back to Egypt? Because, my friends, it was their home. They had become comfortable being victims because it is all that they ever knew. It was the misery they knew, as opposed to the freedom that was foreign. Their parents and their grandparents were all slaves. They didn't want to leave what was familiar, even when it was awful. It is easy for us to tell people living in a hurricane zone they should move. It's easy to criticize people for wanting to return to Egypt. It's harder to realize and to admit that we often do something similar. We all have our emotional home that we keep returning to. For some people, it's happiness, love, gratitude. But for others, it may be fear, anxiety, worry, or depression. The emotional home is the place where you feel most comfortable, to which you often retreat. It's not always good for you, but it's habitual. You know the landscape, and every nook is as familiar to you as the back of your hand. Have you ever had a dinner date with somebody you care about? Your husband, a wife, a good friend, a relative, and you're supposed to meet at 7 p.m. No, you get there at 7, they're not there. You wait until 7:30, and they're still not there. When that happens, what do you feel? Scanning the restaurant for them. Some people get angry. Some get worried. Same scenario, very different reactions. Why are people in the same situation experiencing it so differently? They are both going back to their emotional homes and their comfort zones. What they see happening outside is colored by how things they feel inside the house. Let's take this one step further. How does the angry person react when the friend arrives? Let's just say it won't be a very pleasant dinner. How does the concerned person react when their partner arrives? They'll treat them with compassion and concern. I was worried, where were you? Notice that it's the same event, identical circumstances, and showing, but very different experiences. So here's the most important thing to remember. The quality of one's life is based on the quality of your own habitual emotions. Where you live emotionally determines how life feels for you. The good news is that you can move your emotional home just as you can move into an actual house. You just need to be open to changing your habits. The Exodus, Passover, reminds us not to rush back to our emotional Egypt. Sometimes it takes time to move from one emotional home to another, and perhaps to upgrade to something that's more beautiful, nurturing, and fulfilling, so we can all go into our proverbial promised land. Some more thoughts, dear friends, and I hope everybody is enjoying this opportunity. Had a wonderful Passover. And please make a note that next Sunday, this is a program note, next Sunday we will have an extended program with God's help from 8:30 a.m. till 10. And we'll include music, and we'll have the opportunity for us to show our support and appreciation to WHBC for allowing us to get together here each and every Sunday. So please make a note to join us next Sunday from 8:30. Our program will go until 10 a.m. for this very special broadcast in support of the station and the opportunity given to me for so many years to be able to join with you each and every Sunday morning. Please invite your friends, your family, your neighbors. Let them know about this very special Jewish Talk broadcast next Sunday from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Let's continue now our thoughts as we come out of the great holiday of Passover. I call this the lesson from the golden goose. I'm sure you remember Aesop's fable of the goose and the golden egg. It might be a while since you heard it. Well, let me just remind you. A fable is the story of a poor family that one day discovers the nest of his pet goose. Guess what? A glittering golden egg. The farmer can't believe his good fortune. He becomes even more credulous that the following day, when the experience is repeated, comes another day, day after day, he awakens to rush to the nest and finds another golden egg. He becomes fabulously wealthy. It all seems too good to be true. But with the increasing wealth comes greed and impatience. He changes from a person that he once was. Unable to wait day after day for the golden eggs, the farmer decides that he will kill the goose and get them all at once. But when he opens up the goose, shine, he finds it's empty. There are no golden eggs, and now there's no way to get any more either. The farmer had destroyed the goose that produced them. In his greed, he had erased the source of his own wealth. The wise fable shows us the true effectiveness is the function of two things. What is produced, the golden eggs, and the producing asset, the goose itself. If you adopt a pattern of life that focuses on golden eggs, constantly working and producing more, and neglect the goose, that's you will destroy yourself and be without the asset that produces the golden eggs. To mix metaphors, you will lose the forest for the trees. Like that farmer, who we obsess sometimes over producing golden eggs. We work too hard, drive too fast. We feel chased by 1,000 anxieties every day. We destroy the greatest and only irreplaceable asset we have, which is basically ourselves. So I keep on saying high holiday, but the holiday of Passover began on a Saturday and ended on a Saturday. Started on a Shabbos and ended on a Shabbos. And there's something very special that we all have that I want everyone to appreciate and join us. The Shabbat. Shabbat says, stop killing the goose. In other words, preserve and enhance the greatest asset you have, which is yourself. That means having a balanced program of self-renewal, physically and spiritually. In 6 days, God made the heaven and the earth. The Torah tells us. And on the seventh day, he ceased from work. And it was Shavas Vayinofash. He was refreshed. Therefore, God commands us to rest. Refresh on this day. Celebrating Shabbat keeps you fresh so you can continue to grow in the other 6 days of the week. Celebrating Shabbat is not a lifestyle suggestion. And guess what? It's actually one of the 10 Commandments. Together with don't steal, don't murder, don't lie. It is at the core of Jewish belief and practice, the bedrock of how we should behave in this world. So, what's the connection? The connection is that they all revolve around the ultimate value of life. Those commands are about not taking other people's lives away. The Shabbat is about remembering to live oneself. So Shabbat reminds us, don't kill the goose. Don't kill the goose. Now, there are two forces at work in our lives, being pushed from behind or pulled towards the future. When you drink water, you are pushed to it by thirst. That is a biological push. But when you paint a picture, write a song, think of a goal to accomplish, you are pulled or drawn towards the future by a potential that you desire to translate from an invisible world into the physical world. The more you are pushed from behind, driven by your physical needs, the less you're living your best life. The more you're attracted by a future ideal, the more you are living your best life. Fairly early in his career, Beethoven began losing his hearing. At first, he was in despair. Who wouldn't be, especially if you're one of history's greatest composers? He wrote to a friend, "My noblest faculty, my hearing, has greatly deteriorated. What a sorrowful life I must now live. How happy would I be if my hearing were completely restored, and the most beautiful years of my life must pass without accomplishing the promise of my talent and powers. So it would have remained had it not been for something else inside Beethoven. In another letter he writes, Oi, that sounds rather Jewish. Anyway, if I were only rid of this affliction, I could embrace the world. But he went on to write, I will grab the fate by the throat. It shall not overcome me. How beautiful it is to live. Beethoven's physical condition pushed him to despair, but his vision about the music he wanted to make grabbed him, and he created some of the world's most beautiful music. A Beethoven biographer, himself a musician, reflecting on Beethoven's life, wrote, We are eternally in debt to his deafness. It is doubtful if such lofty music could have been created except as a self-compensation for such an affliction, and in the utter isolation with that affliction brought about. What Beethoven did with his deafness, we ourselves can learn in a certain sense with defeat. Let me explain. Through the centuries of suffering, the vision of an ideal world redeemed by justice and kindness has always drawn us forward. Listen to these words. They will turn their swords into shovels and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will no longer fight against nation, nor train for war anymore. This is how we believe. This is how our ideal. Is that a modern UN resolution of the 21st century? No. This is how the prophet Isaiah envisioned the world almost 3,000 years ago. Did the world then look like peace was possible? On the contrary, Isaiah spoke about it during a very turbulent time. But his words sum up much of our faith. They express a refusal to be demoralized by defeat, a commitment to strive for justice against oppression and freedom against tyranny, to perfect the world under the sovereignty of God. Judaism is a faith pulled by the future, facing forward and compelled by a vision of what human beings can be and what the world can become. Every good deed, every kind action, every act of transcendence is about envisioning a brighter future for ourselves and others, and acting to bring it about. This is the significance of the words that we say at the end of the Seder, Lashon Haba B'Shalayim, because we look forward. Each of us can be an architect of the world for goodness and for kindness in so many different ways. Now, the 8 days of the holiday of Passover concluded yesterday with a special meal. We sat down together, just as we begin the holiday at the Seder with 4 cups of wine. So the Jewish tradition is to conclude the week or the 8 days of the holiday of Passover again with a meal. It's called the meal of the future, Mashiach's meal, and also we drank 4 cups of wine. Now this is a very special conclusion of the holiday, because the first 2 days of the holiday of Passover speak very much about the past, the Egyptian exile, the redemption from Egypt. But these last 2 days of the holiday of Passover, which was this past Friday, and Shabbos yesterday, which included the Yizkor service, is all about the focus on the future, of what we can do to make sure the future is good for ourselves, for our family, for our community, for the entire world. And how do we do that? There was a reporter from CNN many years ago, went to Rabbi Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, said, what should we do to bring the world to ultimate peace and redemption? And the Rebbe says, by simply increasing in goodness and kindness, we can turn over the world in a very positive manner and transform the world for ourselves and bring salvation for the entire world. And certainly during the world that we live in today, when we could very easily fall into despair with what's happening around the world in different places, for us to remind ourselves that every human being can make an extraordinary difference just by simply themselves recognizing their own potential, that future outlook, that ability to see things beyond themselves. Or as we said at the beginning of the program, our emotional status very much determines how we look at things. If our mind is set and recognizes the divine providence, how Almighty God is there all the time for all of us, and how we can connect. We can actually look at the world today and, despite everything, look forward to a complete cessation of war and unkindness and cruelty and everything else, to a world filled with absolute goodness in every single sense. So even as the holiday of Passover has now concluded, we now, each day in the Jewish tradition, we make a blessing and count the day. And we count the days between this holiday of Passover to the holiday of Shavuos, where the Jewish people arrived some 50 days later after leaving Egypt to receive the Ten Commandments, the tablets with Moses, and the Torah at Mount Sinai. And every single day, to mark this moment, this anticipation, this excitement, we make a blessing every day and recognize what this day is all about. And today, last night, we counted that this day is the 8th day in the counting of the Omer. So it's fascinating how we make a blessing over time. And that's something reminding us that the difference that all of us can make. If a person must be able to, at the end of each day, say to themselves, have I brought a blessing to the world through me existing in this world? Did I just simply go through the time, spend the day, who knows what, but at the end of the day, was it a day that I can say, you know what? My time was a blessing. The time I'm spending on this world, the importance of me being here, what I can contribute to the world, was it a blessing? And certainly coming out of the slave mentality of Passover, which is filled with ritual and therefore is so paramount in our daily thought process of uplifting ourselves and the world around us out of a slavery mentality of anxiety and pressure itself. But the key to it is to make every moment count. If a person recognizes they're on an amazing mission to make a difference in this world, they bring a blessing to the world. And therefore, as we prepared ourselves from Passover, we count each day with the counting of the Sphira. This is your host, Rabbi Perl, thanking you so much for joining us. We look forward to being with you next week with God's help. Again, happy post-Passover as we now look forward to success into the future. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.